Alrighty, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. In this lesson, we are going to set up Android Studio for Windows. All right, so here we are on my Windows. I got Windows 10 running, and the first thing that we are going to need is the Java Development Kit. All right, so just open up your browser. I'm here in Chrome, and I'm going to just search for JDK and press Enter, and click up here on the Java SE downloads. I'm going to click right there. And then we're going to come over here to the Java platform, JDK, and click right here. And then we're just going to select our operating system. We are, of course, on Windows, and we want the 64-bit. All right, so right here, we got to accept the license agreement first. All right, so I'm going to click there. And then here we go. So I'm going to click, and that is going to start the download. Looks like it's a couple hundred megs. So we will be right back once that's done downloading. All right, it looks like the download is complete, so I'm just going to double click on it. All right, so now we got our installation wizard, so I'm just going to go through it and accept all of the defaults. I'm going to say next, and we are going to be installing here. And the default path here is fine, so I'm going to say next. Holy mackerel, 3 billion devices. All right, so the Java SE Development Kit has successfully installed, so we are good to go with that. All right, so the reason that we need the Java SDK is so that Android Studio can work properly, all right? So if we had downloaded Android Studio first and tried to create a project, it would not have been able to because it needs this development kit, all right? So now we're ready to go and download Android Studio. So I'm gonna open up a new tab here. I'm just gonna search for Android Studio. And we want the preview here. Well, I should say, let's go here first. And if at the time that you are looking at this, if this says, if the version here is 3.0 or above, then you're good to just download from right here, all right? But at the time that I'm recording this, the Android Studio 3.0 is still in beta, so I'm gonna grab it from preview. All right, and so the reason we're using the beta is because the beta is what has Kotlin support baked into it right now, all right? So I'm just going to click on download and accept the terms and conditions and start the download. Now this is going to be a pretty big download. Looks like it's about 700 megs. So let's wait for that to finish, and I'll be right back when it's done. Alrighty, so that has finished downloading. So let's go to our downloads folder here. Now with the beta, it doesn't actually download an exe installer. So what we got to do is we got to come here to our zip file. We're going to go into it, and then we're going to say, we're going to right click and say extract all. Then we can select a destination and extract the files. I'm just going to choose documents, and then I'm going to say extract. And this is going to be a pretty long process. It's a pretty big job. So once this is finished, I'll be back. Alrighty, so now that has finished extracting out to our documents folder. So if we come over here to where you extracted it to, and then go into bin, and then down here, we want the Studio 64 application. So I'm going to run that. And we're going to fire up Android Studio here. And we're going to walk through a few steps. First, it's going to download some of the SDK components that is necessary. And we're going to walk through this wizard here. All right, so I'm going to hit next. And we're going to do the standard installation for Android Studio. So I'm going to say next again. And you can see that here we're going to download some more stuff. So let's go ahead and download. And once that's finished, we'll continue on our way. Alrighty, so that took a little while, but we have finished downloading all of the necessary components. So I'm going to click on next or finish. And here we go. We're ready to open up a new Android project. So let's go ahead and do that. Start a new Android Studio project. And we're We're gonna jump through this stuff real quick just to make sure that it's up and running, but do check that it includes Kotlin support. All the rest of the defaults will be fine. So this is just to make sure that we are able to actually get a project up and running. So I'm gonna say next. And had to install a few more components, so I'm gonna say finish. And now it's going to build the application. That might take a few seconds. All right, so we got our project popped up. Looks like it's still doing a little bit of work. Down here you can see that there's still some progress. So we'll go ahead and close this tip of the day. And I'm just gonna make this full screen. And we'll just wait for this Gradle build to finish up. Alrighty, so here we are in our very first project for working on Windows. Now we're not going to look at too much in here because we are still in the setup phase. But the other thing that I did want to look at is if we hover over this right here, this blue arrow, and if you hover over it, it'll say SDK Manager. I want you to click on it. And what we're going to see here are all of the installed Android SDKs. And you'll see here, you'll probably recognize the operating system names, Nugget, Marshmallow, Lollipop, etc. Now with Android, one of the cons to it is that even though it's so prolific and widespread, at any given time, there is a very, very small percentage of users that are on the latest and greatest operating system, all right? So if you want to support a large percentage, like 90% and up, you have to go down pretty far in the Android SDK, meaning you have to support operating systems that are running from 5+ years ago, all right? And so what I'll usually do is I'll support about API level 19 and above. Okay, that gives you about 90% of Android users. In fact, if we jump into Chrome real quick and we Google something like, let's see here, Android operating system distribution. Then we can check here on the dashboards, and this will show us a little bit of a breakdown of the distribution. Okay, so you'll see here that on Nugget, the most recently released operating system, you're only looking at about maybe 13%. Marshmallow, that's at 32%. And then following up with that, Lollipop is around also 30%. And so you got to go pretty far back to capture a large percentage. Like I was saying, I think KitKat supports about 90% of the users. All right, so back into Android Studio. What this means is that if you want to make sure that your app is running smoothly on all of those older operating systems that you want to support, you need to be able to test those. And to test those, you need to be able to you need to have these SDKs downloaded for each operating system, so that when you run or when you create an emulator, you are able to specify, I want this emulator to run on this specific Android operating system. So if you're going to be supporting all the way back to 19, and you want to make sure that every operating system in between it works fine, then you need to check all of these and then press apply, all right? So I'm probably not going to select all of them. I'll select a couple select ones, but definitely right now we only have O installed, and so I definitely want the Nuggets ones installed. So I'm going to select both of those, and I'm going to press apply. And it's going to tell us what components are going to be installed, and I'll say okay. And now it's going to go ahead and download those SDKs for us. It's going to give us a license agreement. We have to say accept and then say next. And that's going to go ahead and download for us, all right? All right, so once this finishes up downloading, that's all we're going to cover in this lesson. Just to recap what we went over, you got to install JDK first, so you have your Java development kit all ready for when you install Android. And once you install Android Studio, you just walk through the wizard, pretty simple, straightforward. You're going to be downloading a bunch of extra components. And then once you get inside, open up your SDK manager and go ahead and download any of the older Android SDKs that you plan on supporting so that you can test those in your emulators, all right? So in the next lessons, we'll actually get to work on creating a cool little app. So I will see you then.